Now, let's talk a bit about what you should do if there is an oil spill. I think the most important thing is just to be aware of your potential for spills and what your options are. I encourage you to test yourself by walking through every part of your facility and asking, how and where could an oil spill happen? And for each possible spill you can think of, ask, what would you do to stop the spill? Where would the spilled oil flow or migrate to? What are the safety and fire considerations? Who and what might be threatened or impacted? Who would respond to the incident and who would manage the response? What spill containment and recovery actions could, would, should be initiated? If you can answer these questions, you'll have a good start at a safe and effective response. We all know the major causes of spills, such as human error, equipment failure, vandalism, corrosion. When you examine your facility, you and all the tank farm operators should be able to identify and understand the safeguards that have been built into the fuel system to prevent such spills. And you should realize sometimes the safeguards don't work or fail, and spills happen. And most often spills happen at the most inconvenient time, in the middle of the night, foul weather, when everybody's gone fishing or hunting, and from the least expected sources. So it is often necessary to improvise a response with the available resources and responders. But certain principles apply to all responses. Those are the things I want to review now. First and foremost, safety is the most important consideration when responding to any incident. Yes, you want to take the action as soon as possible to prevent the release of additional product, such as closing valves and shutting down pumps, but if there is a gasoline spill or a hazardous atmosphere, sometimes the best response is no response. That is to say, it may be best to back off or evacuate the area, set up safety perimeters, and then develop a safe work plan. So the first step is to assess the situation and your options. Next, you want to secure the spill site by setting up restricted zones. Remove sources of ignition. Do not allow unauthorized people into the spill zone. Strictly enforce the no smoking rule. Avoid inhalation or contact with fumes. Do not assume spilled material and their byproducts are harmless. Many toxic gases and vapors are colorless, odorless, tasteless, and invisible. Refer to the safety material data sheets in your spill plans for product safety information. Next, develop a response action or work plan. Determine where the spill is going and how best to contain and recover it. Review the response actions with all responders. Make sure each responder understands his or her task and the safety considerations. For safety reasons, spill responders should not work alone, but in pairs or as a team. Refer to your facility response plan if necessary. Remember, it lists local responders who are to be trained in response and safety, it illustrates cleanup techniques, and it identifies response equipment. Each fuel facility is required to maintain response and safety equipment. The equipment is normally stored in a Connex container or drums near the tank farm. The equipment includes various types of oil sorbent material, a transfer pump and hose, contingency storage containers, hand tools, personnel protective gear, and sometimes spill containment boom. Use of sorbent material will often be the most effective tool for responding to small spills. The beauty of sorbent material is that it is easy to use and it works. It absorbs oil but not water. Therefore, you can use it to remove oil floating on water. It comes in several different configurations, such as pads, rolls, sweeps, and booms. Your facility response plan describes the best use and techniques for each type of sorbent. Be aware that sorbent material is very expensive, but it can be wrung out and reused several times. Contaminated sorbents should not be stored for reuse. Another more available and less expensive form of sorbent material is snow. During the winter, snow berms can be built to contain or restrict spill migration. The contaminated snow can then be moved to containers or lined pits to allow the snow to melt, and then the oil can be recovered with sorbents. If the spill is contained in the tank farm dike, use hand tools and sorbents to limit the area and volume of contamination. But remember to be careful not to damage the liner material that is beneath the gravel in the tank farm. The liner is there to contain spills in the tank farm. If the spill occurs outside the tank farm, attempt to block spill migration by building earthen dikes or digging ditches. You should be familiar with the location of drainage culverts or pipes or natural collection areas around your facility that may be good blocking or containment points. Again, your facility response plan illustrates different spill containment techniques. Now, if you have a large volume of oil that is contained, the portable pump in your facility spill kit will be more effective to recover oil than sorbent material. Also, your facility spill equipment includes containers for contingency storage. That is to say, a place where you can temporarily store recovered liquids. The contingency storage may be drums, portable bladder type of tanks, or a refurbished tank that has been dedicated for contingency storage. The contingency storage should be used only in emergencies. It is important to understand that after a spill response, all sorbent material that has been used and the equipment that has been expended must be replaced. The facility response equipment listed in your facility response plan is the minimum amount required by the Coast Guard and EPA. It must be maintained and available at all times. That is the reason your monthly visual inspection of the facility includes checking the response equipment to confirm the inventory is complete. If the Coast Guard or EPA inspect your facility and the listed response equipment is not available, you could be subject to penalties. Finally, you must also be aware of the spill reporting requirements. Your facility response plan spells out the reporting requirements and lists agency phone numbers. Basically, any spill that occurs from your facility must be reported to the State of Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation. If the spill impacts or threatens any water, it must also be reported to the Coast Guard at the National Response Center phone number. Failure to report oil spills will likely result in substantial penalties. In conclusion, it's easy to see the damage, the risk, the extreme high cost of spill cleanup, and the potential penalties associated with oil spills are all the more reason that each and every person associated with your facility needs to do whatever is necessary to prevent spills.